We are coming now long way to Australia to Dr. Yuksel. We are curious to hear what he will say about the Hizmet movement, teachers, passion for the teaching profession, and passion for teaching abroad. So.
First of all, can you hear me? Yeah. I'd like to apologize if I disappoint you with my talk, because after 20 hours of flying, I arrived last night. Still haven't recovered from jet lag. I hope you understand. Okay, we all know that the teachers who are inspired by the Hizmet movement contribute to the peace-building efforts globally. Therefore, any efforts we can make to understand these teachers' motivations will be valuable. During the data collection stage of a recently completed doctoral thesis, participant teachers were asked about their motivation for becoming teachers, like why did they select the teaching profession, and their motivation for teaching outside, why did they migrate outside Turkey. The two aims of these questions were to identify the rationale behind the teachers' migration to a distant country such as Australia, and whether there were any correlations between these two motivations. Although it was not part of the research questions to seek any answers relating to the Hizmet movement, almost 50% of the participants made reference to the Hizmet movement while revealing their inspirations. Generating from these teachers' responses, there was a need to look at the motivation factors for passion for teaching profession and passion for teaching abroad for the Hizmet movement's teachers in Australia. My talk today will focus and emphasize the importance of these two passions for Hizmet movement teachers. I will not endeavor to identify motivation factors and conclude accordingly, but by presenting examples from the research data, I will recommend a further research on the topic. I will present my talk into three main sections. In this section, I will introduce the doctoral thesis in a summary form so that you can have some idea on the relevance of this talk to the thesis. The title of the thesis was Personal and Professional Experience of Turkish Qualified Teachers in Victorian Schools. The term Turkish Qualified, or in short TQ, was used to refer to teachers who have obtained primary or secondary teaching qualification from a university in Turkey. For those of you who are not familiar with Australia, Victoria is a state in the southeast of Australia. The two aims of this research was, firstly, to identify the personal and professional experience of Turkish qualified teachers in Victorian schools. Secondly, to draw on their experience to support recommendations for teacher education, training, professional development, and/or induction programs to support future overseas teachers in adapting to the Victorian education system. The main research question was straightforward as the title in a question format. There were sub-research questions. The first one was, what were the TQ teachers' perceptions in adaptation to Victorian education environment? And what are the perceptions of these teachers regarding the similarities and differences between the Turkish and education system, Victorian and Victorian education system? And what facilities and services should be made available to support their transition processes? And what are their professional development needs? So these are the questions that we were seeking answers for. During the data collection of this research, a small-scale questionnaire was distributed to teachers with the Turkish background. When the questionnaires were completed and returned, purpose of sampling was applied to select the individual interview participants, ensuring adequate participant represented with criteria such as gender, age, marital status, teaching areas, teaching experiences was there. Then individual interviews were conducted with the selected participants. And with the permission of the participants, all interviews were audio taped and subsequently transcribed. A transcription of each interview was returned to the relevant participant for them to confirm the accuracy of their interviews. And finalized copies of interview transactions were then analyzed, which I won't go into it. And document review was also conducted throughout the research, which mostly included analyzing relevant policy documents. Okay, section 2. In this section, a set of portraits is developed for 5 participant teachers who made reference to the Hizmet movement within the research. Some of the interview data that was intentionally excluded from the thesis due to the Hizmet movement not directly relating to the research questions will be included in this section. Please keep in mind that each participant was given a pseudonym during the thesis, and I will also use those pseudonyms during this talk to respect their privacy. Erkan is the first teacher who made reference to the Hizmet movement. He's a Turkish language teacher, and prior to coming to Australia, he had some experience in Crimea as well as in Turkey. Erkan believed that it was a specialty to work as a teacher at any of these Hizmet movement schools, and he explains why. Erkan quoted, open quote, "I studied in Konya, the city of Mevlana, and familiarized myself with the teachings and ideologies of Mevlana and admired him a lot. I was searching to find out if there was anyone who was putting his ideas into practice, especially if there was anyone like Mevlana who loved and valued humans just because they were humans. I have discovered this within the ideology and practice of Fethullah Gulen and the Hizmet movement. When I was working in Crimea, I was amazed to see those nations, regardless of being different and enemy previously, that's his wordings, living happily and at peace with each other at the same school. I have witnessed people approaching each other with love, value, and respect. These were the ideas that Mevlana was mentioning in his books. So his ideas were being put in practice. This was the main reason why I wanted to teach at one of the Hizmet movement schools overseas," end quote. Just an anecdote with this slide. When I was preparing this slide, I thought that it would be valuable to give some information about the Mevlana, or Rumi as known in the West. Then I said to myself, hang on, one of the main organizers of this program is the Rumi Forum. Surely the people will be well known about Rumi, but then again, I still let that be. Serkan is another teacher, physics teacher, a graduate of Bosporus University, a well-known university in Turkey. Previous to Australia, he had teaching experience in Hizmet schools in Central Asia, in Turkmenistan, and in Russia. He was awarded a medal by the President of Turkmenistan for his successful commitment to the education system. Apparently, only a handful of people from the educational sector received this prestigious medal. His students competed in physics Olympiads in Turkmenistan and received medals, so he was a successful teacher. Serkan became a teacher because he likes helping people. His decision to work as a teacher overseas was difficult for his parents to accept, as he was educated at one of the best universities in Turkey. They could not understand why he had to move overseas. But when they familiarized themselves with the aims and objectives of the Hizmet movement, it made it easier for them to accept Serkan's decision to move overseas. Serkan provided some information about the movement. In different countries, school setup, curriculum, schools, etc., they all differ, depending on the culture and the country. But the main purpose of the movement does not change, which is to teach kids basically the universal values accepted by everyone. So these are not religious schools. They are mainly about universal values, valuing humanity and aiming to improve the values that are making us humans. So I really wanted to be part of this important movement and enjoy teaching in these schools, end quote. Mutlu is another teacher, a chemistry teacher, another graduate from Bosporus University. He had about 5 years teaching experience in Kenya in Hizmet schools there, Africa. Mutlu was motivated to become a teacher due to his enjoyment in helping people who needed assistance. He was inspired by the Hizmet movement for recommending teachers to work outside Turkey, especially with students with high needs. Mutlu believes there were 2 important decisions that he made in his life that he does not regret. The first one being the marriage to his life, so that was interesting. And secondly, migrating to Africa to work as a teacher. While he was in Australia, he actually was looking forward to go to Africa still. When Mutlu informed his decision to work overseas, his close family members were not happy, as they were not in a good position financially at the time, apparently. They made comments like, "Why are you going to Africa? Are you crazy? There could be hunger, diseases, or other problems there. You have graduated from one of the best universities in Turkey. You can find a good job here." Some of his friends even made fun of him by saying, "What are you going to do in that poor country? Are you going to eat human meat?" That's his wording. But after 5 years working in Kenya, Mutlu informed his family about moving to Australia this time. But this time they were upset that he was leaving Kenya due to Australians' distance to Turkey, actually. Faruk is another teacher, mathematics teacher. He's a graduate of Middle Eastern Technical University, another well-known university in Turkey. He worked in Hizmet movement schools in Uzbekistan and Turkey. When Faruk was interviewed, he was actually working as a school principal. And he believed teaching profession should be different than other profession, and it should be considered as a giving profession. That's his wording. He quoted, "Teachers should be willing to give, sometimes from their heart, sometimes from their health, sometimes from their wealth, and sometimes from their times, and sometimes sacrificing many things to teach a little thing to kids." End quote. Ilham is another teacher, physical education or sports teacher. He was a graduate of Met University also. Ilham believed that being a teacher is a gift, actually, that provides opportunities to educate and develop younger generations. Ilham quoted, "Some of my university friends mentioned about Turkish international schools which opened due to School of Fethullah Gülen's encouragements. In those schools, there were many students from many cultures studying together, which was a good opportunity to set up bridges among different cultures. So I was ambitious and wanted to work at those schools." End quote. Ilham also explained that for him, the most difficult stage in moving overseas was his parents' acceptance, so that it was difficult for them to accept his migration too. Section 3. This section will scrutinize the participant teachers' interview responses relating to passion for the teaching profession and passion for teaching abroad. First, the passion for teaching profession. According to research, generally people in Turkey did not select the teaching profession due to the economic benefits. Normally, teachers' salaries were low when compared to most other professions in Turkey. Research findings indicated that Turkish teachers' passion towards the teaching profession was initiated either by a family member, friend, or relative happened to be a teacher, or their teacher was a good role model, and that's why they became a teacher, or someone they trusted recommended them to become a teacher, or they thought their skill was appropriate for the teaching profession, or the respect of the teaching profession. So these were the major reasons why they selected the teaching profession. The Hizmet movement's teachers' passion varied within any of these motivations. Passion for teaching abroad. Research findings reveal that Turkey teachers migrated overseas for either uniting with some family members or relatives, such as marriage, or they migrated overseas for better future, for better job opportunities, or for simply having inspiration to teach outside Turkey. Most of the teachers who fit in this third category, for having inspirations to work outside Turkey, also related their motivation to the Hizmet movement. The Hizmet movement teaches passion for teaching abroad. Teacher responses reveal that a few Hizmet movement teachers were influenced by the teaching opportunities provided outside Turkey and the reputation for quality education in those schools. However, most teachers declared that they were motivated by these Hizmet movement opportunities in one of these followings: either for building bridges between cultures, or teaching universal values along with the key learning areas, and teaching students in need. Conclusion, we are nearly there. Teacher responses disclose that those who were motivated by this movement were graduates of prestigious universities in Turkey. They had no problem in finding teaching positions at respected schools in Turkey. Most of these teachers have worked at non-schools in Turkey, while others have taught in other countries. Their responses indicated that they were valued in their previous teaching positions. Some have prepared students in their previous schools for various international education Olympiads and were successful. Some of them received medals for their work. Their explanations also revealed that migration to another country caused personal and professional difficulties. Personal difficulties such as visa application processes, parents' acceptance, and so on. So there were difficulties, but they still migrated. Professional difficulties such as when they migrated, they had problems in their qualifications getting recognized, getting teaching registrations, classroom management was an issue, and they had student discipline issues also, but they still migrated. Then, why would these Hizmet movement teachers leave their loved ones and their jobs behind and travel to a distant country such as Australia? Why would these teachers seem to ignore better job prospects and financial benefits and dedicate themselves to the teaching profession, not just locally but globally, despite all the difficulties and issues? Could some of the motivation factors introduced in this talk, such as building bridges or teaching universal values, would they be sufficient to understand Hizmet movement teachers' motivations? Could there be some additional factors that could have some significant relevance? Although it would be logical to simply claim that Hizmet movement teachers are influenced by the teachings of the scholar Fethullah Gulen. However, we need to scholarly identify the type of and the basis of his teachings that motivate these teachers to become dedicated. Therefore, a thorough research study is recommended on the topic. Thank you for listening.